18%. That's the fundamental problem. We need to raise taxes in this country. But instead, we're on a path of cutting. Now, we've had a series of plans recently, and Ryan, representing the Republican plan, wants to essentially keep the revenue system as is and cut outlays to about 20%. The way he does that, rather than the 24% that I showed, is by gutting the social programs yet further. He would gut Medicaid, he would gut food stamps, he would gut other programs by turning them over to the states with a smaller budget. So this is just a trick. Keep the tax rates low and get spending down to a level which is unable to meet the public needs. Unfortunately, President Obama is only a milder version of the same thing. Because President Obama says, okay, we're going to have tax increases, raise the top tax rate from 35 to 39.6% for households over $250,000. That's it. That's about 0.5 percentage point of GNP. That's all that President Obama wants to go. So he's one step to the left of the far right as far as I'm concerned in this. But he's portrayed as wildly leftist by the propaganda machine. Because you listen to Fox, if you can stand it, or you read the Wall Street Journal page, and we got a rampant wild socialist in the White House. President Obama is banking on the fact that if he stays one step towards rationality from the crazies, he'll get reelected. And he probably will with that, but he won't solve America's problems. Because we will continue to squeeze, we will continue to be unhappy, and I believe that our society is not arranged for the convenience of reelection of our politicians. That's our problem. Neither side is really saying what's needed. A relatively better, I endorsed it last week, a budget of the Congressional Progressive Caucus would raise revenues to 22% and keep outlays at 22% to balance the budget. This is better than the other proposals, but even this proposal needs to adjust because we need about 24% of spending. Of course, this one does not have the votes in Congress to pass. And this is our essential problem. How do we get to where we need to go when we have this rampant tax system? I was going to talk a little bit about health, but I've run out of time. Let me just show you the piece of good news. Okay? Here's the piece of good news. The American people are not crazy. In fact, the American people are basically with good values, with good moderation, with compassion, with generosity, and would like to do the right thing. The only problem is their voice doesn't count. So Washington doesn't listen to public opinion. Washington listens to wealth. And the elections are not really about real choices right now. The elections are about tiny margins of difference, financed by big wealth. But a wonderful study was done by University of Maryland, the Program for Public Consultation. You can find it online. Where they asked people, what would you do to balance the budget? But this time they gave them a spreadsheet tool to allow them to understand the implications of their choices. You could cut all foreign aid and all earmarks and not do more than the tiniest decimal point fraction because those programs count for nothing. And this spreadsheet helped people to understand that. So when they wanted with real choices, real numbers, real options, here's what they said. Let's cut spending by $145 billion and let's raise taxes by twice that. So Obama says let's have $3 of spending cuts for every $1 of tax increase. Ryan says all spending cuts, no tax increase. The public says $1 of spending cuts for every $2 of tax increase. Completely different balance. And how would the public actually do the spending cuts? By cutting the military. And they would raise funding for job training, higher education, energy conservation, elementary, secondary education, and so forth. Hooray for the American people. Truly. This is about a political scam, not about Americans' values. This is our biggest problem. And when you add up the whole shebang and ask how would they raise the revenues, increase them at the top and increase the corporate tax rates and increase the estate tax, which was also gutted in a deal that the White House made with the Congress last December. What's my differential diagnosis? This is my public health. Closing. Our biggest deficit is a democracy deficit. If the American people and American values were able to be heard over the pressure of big money, we would actually get back on the right track. What's the prescription? We need to restore democratic deliberation to end the corporatocracy. Thank you very much.